Since the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869, San Francisco has been one of the most visited cities in the United States. Its iconic landmarks are now recognized around the world. The city also operates an efficient public transportation system, which provides locals and tourists an inexpensive way to visit the city's popular and lesser-known scenic and historic sites. The San Francisco Municipal Railway, or Muni, began operating streetcars in 1912 with the acquisition of the privately run Park and Ocean Line. The Park and Ocean ran cable cars on Geary Street from Market to Fifth Avenue and Fulton. Muni converted the cable cars to electric streetcars and extended the line to 10th Avenue. As Muni's first streetcar line, it was named the A Line. The Geary route was then extended to the western end of the city at Ocean Beach and was called the B Line. The C Line followed, running a parallel route on California Street to the newly created Lincoln Park and Golf Course. In 1914, Muni created the D Line. It ran along Ness Avenue, then turned west onto Union Street to a terminus in the Presidio. Muni then took over the privately run Presidio and Ferries line and called it the E Line. It ran from the Embarcadero to Columbus Avenue, then followed the D Line to the Presidio. The F Line was created in 1914 to bring passengers from downtown to the 1915 Panama Pacific Exposition. The new line ran from Stockton and Market through Chinatown and North Beach and continued along Chestnut Street to the end of the line at Scott Street. After the closure of the exposition, the grounds were cleared for residential development. To serve this new neighborhood, called the Marina, Muni created the No. 5 bus line in 1927, making a loop along Scott and Broderick from the F Line terminus.
Too many cars are on the outside tracks owned by the Municipal Railway. The inside tracks owned by Market Street Railway are not used to capacity. If these two systems are consolidated, the traffic burden will be equally distributed so that everybody can ride. One fare anywhere will do the trick. This serious bottleneck at Stockton and Market Streets can be broken. Instead of turning F cars back here, let's send them across Market Street to the Southern Pacific Depot, giving a new crosstown service to the Marina, North Beach, and Chinatown. Only in this way can San Francisco get rid of 2 of the 4 tracks on Market Street. We're voting yes for your future on Tuesday.
After voters approved the merger with the Market Street Railways in 1944, Muni extended the F Line from Stockton and Market to the Southern Pacific Depot at 4th and Townsend Streets. Muni then embarked on a program of renumbering its bus lines, and the 5 line became the 34 line, leaving No. 5 to the McAllister streetcar line previously operated by the Market Street Railways. The F line was converted to a trolley line in 1951 with a fleet of Marmon Harrington coaches. The line was renamed 30 Stockton. These trolley buses ran on 600-volt DC from double overhead wires, with one wire supplying power and the other serving as a ground to complete the circuit. The terminus on Chestnut Street was then relocated to Broderick and Beach Streets, taking over the route of the 34 bus line. With the increase of traffic in the south of Market in the late 60s, 3rd and 4th were turned into one-way streets, and the northbound run of the 30 Stockton was moved to 3rd Street. Today, you can still catch a ride on an old Marmon Harrington trolley during Muni's Heritage Weekend. The old F streetcar line was resurrected in 1995 as the F Market and Wharf, using a fleet of vintage streetcars. The new F line runs on Market Street and along the Embarcadero to Fisherman's Wharf. The Marmon Harringtons were replaced in 1977 with a fleet of Flyer E800s from New Flyer Industries in Winnipeg, Canada. In 2016, Muni began operating the articulated New Flyer Excelsior XT60 on the 30 line. This extended 60-foot trolley bus can run on overhead electric wires or electric batteries where overhead wires are not present. In 2024, the 30 route was extended to reach the Presidio with a new terminus at Crissy Field. We find our bus waiting for us at the southern terminus of the 30 line, near the Caltrain station on Townsend and 4th Street. This station serves as the northern terminus of the Caltrain commuter line, serving the San Francisco Peninsula and Santa Clara Valley. The train line traces its history to 1864 and the completion of the San Francisco to San Jose Railroad. The northern terminal of the line was located at 18th and Valencia and connected with the Market Street Railroad steam train that ran on Market and Valencia to 16th Street. When the railroad was absorbed by Southern Pacific in 1870, the line was extended to Townsend between 3rd and 4th Streets. In 1889, the station was moved to 3rd and Townsend. It was rebuilt in 1914 in a grand Spanish Revival style to handle the crowds coming to the city for the 1915 Panama Pacific Exposition. The steep gradient along the line between the stations of Colma and Ocean View made it difficult to haul the increasing loads of freight coming into San Francisco. In 1907, Southern Pacific rerouted the entry to the city with the Bayshore cutoff. It offered a more direct route along the shoreline at the eastern flank of the San Bruno Mountain. The Ocean View branch was discontinued in 1941. Amtrak took over the line in 1971 and moved the San Francisco terminal to 4th and Townsend. The old Southern Pacific Station on 3rd Street was demolished in 1975. The rail yard and passenger depot between 3rd and 4th Streets were replaced with a park for recreational vehicles. After Caltrain took over the rail line in 1985, the entrance of the station was relocated to 4th and King Streets. Today, the station is also the terminus for Muni's 30, 31, 45, and N lines, and serves as a stop on the T line. The station will also be the northern terminus of the California High Speed Rail, connecting San Francisco to Los Angeles. In 2003, a condominium complex replaced the recreational vehicle park between 3rd and 4th Streets. Here on Townsend Street, we find our bus waiting for us. Also sharing the same terminus is the 45 Union Trolley Line, which follows the same route as the 30 Stockton through downtown, Chinatown, and North Beach. On 3rd Street, our bus gets to ride on its own dedicated lane. The MJB Coffee Company was originally located on Mission and Spear Streets when it was called M.J. Brandenstein and Company. Max Brandenstein, the third born of 11 siblings, started the company in 1881.
Look, when it comes to coffee, I don't take any chances. I use MJB. Now, heaven knows...
It was in this commercial that actress Terry Garr came to the attention of director Steven Spielberg, who offered Garr a starring role in his epic film, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. South Park, the city's oldest park, was one of San Francisco's first upper-class neighborhoods. Built between 1852 and 1857 as an exclusive residential community, it was modeled after the squares of London. A horse car service on 3rd Street operated between South Park and downtown. Residents were mostly business owners, company presidents, and politicians. Following the 1906 earthquake and fire, South Park became the center of a Japanese-American community. Strategically located between the dock of the Japanese steamship company Toyo Kisen Kaisha and the Southern Pacific Railroad Terminal, South Park served Japanese travelers with hotels, restaurants, baths, and souvenir shops. Toyo Kisen Kaisha was the main passenger steamship company that operated between Japan and San Francisco. Today, after going through the dot-com boom and bust in the late 1990s, South Park has regained some of its fashionable past with upscale condominiums, local businesses, and restaurants. Between Folsom and Harrison Streets is Yerba Buena Public Square. The Fun Zone includes the Children's Creativity Museum, an ice arena, a bowling center, and a playground with a carousel. The square is part of the Moscone Convention Center, which spreads over 3 city blocks and includes the Yerba Buena Gardens. Facing the Yerba Buena Gardens is the Museum of Modern Art. Among the museum's numerous acquisitions are the works of some of the best-known artists of the 20th century. The Hearst building, now the Hearst Hotel, was once home to the San Francisco Examiner newspaper. In 1877, George Hearst, having made his fortune in gold and silver mining in the 1850s and 60s, acquired a small newspaper called the Daily Examiner, which he planned to use to support his own political ambitions. Preoccupied by politics, which eventually led him to the U.S. Senate, Hearst let his 24-year-old son, William Randolph, take over the newspaper. Hearst Jr. turned the struggling Daily Examiner into a sensationalist publication called the San Francisco Examiner. Hearst modeled his newspaper after Joseph Pulitzer's New York World. A pioneer in yellow journalism, Pulitzer's newspaper captured the attention of its readers with sensation and scandals. In 1898, William Randolph Hearst purchased the Nucleus Hotel on the corner of Market and 3rd Streets and relocated his newspaper in a new 7-story building. After the building was destroyed in the 1906 earthquake and fire, Hearst planned to build a 26-story building topped with a golden dome and chiming clock. But the city ruled that the building could be no taller than 13 stories. Hearst was the inspiration for the 1941 film Citizen Kane, in which Orson Welles portrays the powerful newspaper tycoon.
Is that really your idea of how to run a newspaper?
I don't know how to run a newspaper, Mr. Thatcher. I just try everything I can think of.
Charge, you know perfectly well there's not the slightest proof that this...
Hearst tried to stop the release of the film by threatening a court injunction and exposing Hollywood scandals. The film production company, RKO, quietly shelved the film shortly after its release. It was re-released in 1956 and is now frequently cited as one of the greatest films ever made. The construction of a tunnel on Stockton Street was intended for the creation of a streetcar line connecting downtown to Chinatown and North Beach and avoid the steep 18% gradient between Bush and California streets. Various projects were proposed between 1909 and 1912. After the final project was approved, work began in 1913. With the excavation on Stockton, the street level was lowered to expose the basement of two buildings, and their original street-level entrance became their second floor. The tunnel was completed in 1914 in time for Muni's new F. Stockton streetcar line to bring visitors to the Panama Pacific International Exposition. Streetcars were replaced with trolley buses in 1951.
What do you want here?
Oh, I'm Sam Spade, Tom Polhouse phone.
Oh, I didn't know you at first. Back there.
The vacant site east of the tunnel entrance saw the construction of the Dalma Garage in 1930. It was rebuilt in 1960 as the Sutter Stockton Garage. In 1873, Clay Street became the site of the first cable car line. The Clay Street Hill Railroad operated its cable cars between Kearny and Leavenworth. Andrew Halliday, a manufacturer of steel cables, designed the system to pull a car up the steep gradient of Clay Street. This system involved a grip car with driver pulling an enclosed trailer for passengers. The grip car was open with bench-type seating. The first test run was held at 5 o'clock in the morning to avoid witnesses in case the system failed. The line was extended in 1877 to reach Van Ness Avenue. The original grip car was preserved and is now on display at the Cable Car Museum on Mason and Washington Streets. The Clay Street line was absorbed by the Sacramento and Clay line in 1888, and the eastern end of the line was extended to the Embarcadero. The line was discontinued in 1942. 1 block east from Stockton Street is Portsmouth Square, once the terminus of the Clay Street cable car line. The square was established in 1835 as the center of what was then a small Mexican village port called Yerba Buena. The original shoreline ran along Montgomery Street, a block away from Portsmouth Square, where the Transamerica Pyramid stands today. With the gold rush underway and the need to build more docks, plans were made to extend the waterfront by 6 city blocks. The hundreds of ships abandoned in the Yerba Buena Cove during the gold rush were sunk, and the cove was filled in with sand to create the new waterfront. In 1852, the city of San Francisco took over the Jenny Lind Theater on Portsmouth Square to establish its first City Hall. It was replaced by the Hall of Justice in 1896, when City Hall was moved to Civic Center. Today, Portsmouth Square is known as the heart of Chinatown. At Washington Street, we find the central subway terminal of the T3rd Street Line. The light rail line runs underground from Chinatown to the Moscone Convention Center, then moves above ground along 4th Street to the Caltrain station. It then continues down 3rd Street to its southern terminal near the Bayshore Caltrain station. The T-Line opened in 2007, and the underground extension to Union Square and Chinatown was open in 2023. Just off Jackson Street is a small alley called Ross Alley. There we find a tiny factory called the Golden Gate Fortune Cookie Factory. The factory offers visitors a chance to watch the making of fortune cookies. Visitors can also purchase cookies directly from the factory, which offers free samples of their unique flavor. The origin of the fortune cookie goes back to 1894 and the Midwinter International Exposition held in Golden Gate Park. One of the most popular attractions was the Japanese Village. After the closure of the fair, the city's park commission decided to keep the popular Japanese Village open and renamed it Japanese Tea Garden. Landscape designer Makoto Hagiwara was hired to manage the garden. But in 1901, San Francisco Mayor James Phelan, who was known for his anti-Asian sentiments, fired Hagiwara from his post. After a public outcry, and with the support of a new mayor, Hagiwara was reinstated for the upkeep of the Japanese garden. To show his appreciation to those who had supported him, Hagiwara made a cookie adapted from a traditional Kyoto toasted rice wafer called Sujiura Senbei and placed a thank you note inside. After passing them out to his delighted guests, he began serving his cookies regularly at the Japanese tea garden. The Hagiwara family managed the garden until 1942, when anti-Japanese paranoia swept the country, and 120,000 Japanese Americans were forced to leave their homes and abandon their businesses to be sent to internment camps. Columbus Avenue cuts diagonally through the northern quadrant of the city from Montgomery and Washington to Beach Street. In the 1850s and 60s, Montgomery Street was the main thoroughfare in the city. Plans were made for a northern extension to bypass Telegraph Hill and create a shortcut between the waterfront and North Beach. A southern extension was also planned, which would create a cross-town thoroughfare to facilitate trade. But residents, whose properties lay on the path of the southern extension, successfully defeated the project. Work began on the northern extension in the early 1870s. First called Montgomery Avenue, it was renamed Columbus Avenue in 1909 as it cut through the Italian community of North Beach. At Columbus Avenue, we part ways with the 45 Union trolley bus. The 45 line continues west on Union Street to its terminus on Lyon Street. The 45 took over Muni's D and E lines in 1950. Streetcars were replaced with buses, and the line was renamed 45 Greenwich. It became the 45 Union when the line was electrified in 1982. Situated in the heart of North Beach is the urban oasis of Washington Square. Originally the northern shoreline of the city, North Beach became home to a sizable Italian community. We cover the neighborhoods of North Beach and Telegraph Hill in our video on the 39 Coit bus line. Look for the link in the end screen. At Mason Street, we are joined by a cable car on the Powell and Mason line. One of the 3 remaining cable car lines in San Francisco, the Powell and Mason line shares this section of Columbus Avenue with our 30 Stockton bus. The line runs from Market and Powell to Taylor and Bay Streets. The Powell and Hyde line shares the same route from Market to Jackson Street, then continues on Hyde Street to its terminus in Aquatic Park. The third cable car line is the California line, running on California Street from Market to Van Ness Avenue. At Taylor Street, we part ways with the Powell and Mason cable car. Ghirardelli Square was once the site of the Ghirardelli chocolate factory. Domenico Ghirardelli, the factory founder, had left his native Italy in 1838 to open a confectionery store in the Peruvian capital of Lima. Lured by the California gold rush, he sailed to San Francisco in 1852 and opened another confectionery store on the corner of Broadway and Battery. In 1859, Ghirardelli took over the Pioneer Woolen Mills and turned it into a chocolate factory. The iconic clock tower was built in 1915, inspired by the Château de Blois in France. After the factory was relocated to San Leandro in the 1960s, the building was turned into a retail complex of shops and restaurants. In 2008, the Fairmont Heritage Place, a historic residence-style hotel, moved in to occupy the northwest side of the building. At Van Ness Avenue, we pass the terminus of the 49 Van Ness line. The trolley line runs the length of Van Ness Avenue and continues almost in a straight line along Mission and Valencia Streets to Ocean Avenue and City College. The area around Fort Mason was once inhabited by a community of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. Originally called Point San Jose, it was renamed Black Point when the U.S. Army designated the area a military reservation in 1851. Before the Army constructed buildings or assigned soldiers, real estate developers moved onto the land to build large private homes. Black Point became a prestigious community of bankers, merchants, and literary figures. At the outbreak of the Civil War, the Army enforced its property claim to build an army post. Civilian residents were evicted, and Army officers were stationed in the vacated homes. During World War II, Fort Mason was the last American port for 1.5 million soldiers headed to the Pacific Theater. In 1960, Fort Mason was turned over to the National Park Service to become an arts organization with performance spaces, galleries, cafes, restaurants, and a farmer's market. Originally a marshland, the area of what is now the Marina District became the site of the 1915 Pacific Panama International Exposition. After the exposition ended, a project was considered to turn the area into a residence park called Presidio Gardens. But the Marina Corporation, which had purchased the land, decided to subdivide it and include apartment buildings. At first called Marina Park, it developed in the 1920s and 30s into a residential neighborhood, reflecting the era's popular styles of streamlined modern and Art Deco. Chestnut Street, with markets, restaurants, bars, and movie theaters, is the Marina's commercial corridor. After the close of the Panama Pacific Exposition, the shoreline was turned over to the U.S. Army, who built the Crissy Airfield. During World War II, buildings at the airfield were used as a top-secret military intelligence language school where Japanese Americans were trained as battlefield interpreters. The Crissy Airfield became part of the National Park Service in 1994 and was renamed Crissy Field. Our bus now reaches the end of the line in Crissy Field Park. From the terminal, why not explore the area and enjoy the spectacular views the park offers? Go on a walk on the Golden Gate Beach. Have a picnic at the West Bluff picnic area. Or just stop for lunch or refreshment at the warming hut. The Golden Gate Bridge is only a short hike away along one of the scenic trails. There, next to the Welcome Center building, a bus on the 28th line will take you back to the Marina or Fisherman's Wharf, or can take you for another scenic ride to the Richmond District, Golden Gate Park, and the Sunset District. From the Caltrain station and historic South Park, along colorful Chinatown and North Beach, to the Marina and Crissy Field Park, the 30 Stockton line will take you on a memorable trip along some of the oldest and most diverse neighborhoods in San Francisco.